Hey, good evening. Sam McEwen here. I want to ask you a couple questions tonight, 6 questions actually, and then I'm going to talk about them a little bit, but I want you to think about these questions. Number one, where'd your fear come from? What fears you have, where did they come from? Number two, what is that fear costing you? Number three, what launches your fear? What triggers it? Number four, how do you change? Number five, uh, how do you ride the fear to the life of your dreams? Number six, what is an empowered life to you? So, where'd your fears come from? Everything you want is on the other side of fear. Whatever growth you want, whatever thing you want, whatever you want out of this life is on the other side of fear. You have to learn how to ride the wave of the fear. Okay? You have to ride the wave of the fear. Overcome it. Okay? So, and it's quite frankly, that's the magic. Okay? That is where the magic of this life happens. Your fear probably came from bad experiences. Life happens, whether it's relationships, whether it's an accident, whatever it is, that fear came from somewhere. So you have to identify where that fear came from. Okay? What's that fear costing you? Life takes place in the growth zone, and the growth zone is uncomfortable and is full of unwarranted fears. Okay? Slow death takes place in the comfort zone. Don't live life to die. Okay? So, what's the fear costing you? What is the fear really, really costing you? Okay? Hey, what triggers your fear? You know, we have two different areas of our brains where some fear comes from, and one of the words I can't really pronounce really well, but I'm going to get into mostly the cortex side of it. And that is where a lot of our fear comes from, and the amygdala or originated fear. So, and the amygdala is where we get that fight or flight part of our fear. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about what launches your fear, and I'm not going to get in real depth. It's a little late at night, and y'all probably getting ready to call tonight. But that cortex fear it's comes from emotional memories. Okay, there's usually an associated trigger. So, for example, there is one lady I coached who has been divorced. She was in a horrible relationship, abusive, and was able to get out of that relationship. But the ex wore a certain cologne. Okay? Here's the thing. Every time she smelled that cologne, she got triggered. And it triggered a fear. And it was a learned fear reaction. Okay. Now, there's ways to get around that. And sometimes you will need professional help. Okay. Psychologist, counseling, Celebrate Recovery, whatever mechanism you use. So we have that associated trigger that launches a fear reaction. We need to bypass the fear reaction and get to calm. Well, the only way to get to calm is to take that associated trigger and put it into a neutral or positive event. Okay? So the more times we do that, the easier it is to get to the calm place. And then the calm is the learned response because it's a new association. Okay? Doesn't happen overnight. Okay? Trust me, doesn't happen overnight. But we do need to learn a better response. You know, how do you ride the fear? Take massive action. If you take massive action, you will get a quantitative shift in your results. Pure and simple, you will. You are worth your very best. All right. So just go for it. You're worth it. Ride the fear. Don't accept the fight anymore. Okay. Ride the fear. If you practice facing your fear, it becomes easier. The more you practice it, the easier it becomes. It's not magic. You can't magic your way out of fear. You have to ride it to your future. You have to ride your way out. It's a paraphrase quote from Roddy Galbraith. So I want to touch on 8 little quick points. I'm just going to read them to help you identify and help you work through that cortex-based fear. So there's 8 different steps you can take, eight different things you can do. The first thing is seek professional help. Okay, whether that be a pastor who's skilled at counseling, most are not. Whether it be a group like Celebrate Recovery, whether it be a psychologist, psychiatrist, social worker, whatever, someone trained that will help you get past that fear, especially if it is an unhealthy, unnatural fear. Okay, get help. Okay, you need to know what your response is, and you need to practice a positive response. You have to be mindful of that fear, okay? Aware of what it does to you physically, mentally, emotionally, aware of your body. And when their body is triggered, you need to learn relaxation techniques. You need to learn how to come down out of it, to calm down, okay? You need to write down what the phrase empowered living and empowered life means to you. Write it down. Write it down. Read it. What does it mean to live an empowered life? What does it mean? Think about your thinking. Now, what do you mean by that, Sam? Well, here's what I mean. We have about 85, 95,000 thoughts a day. Over 80% of them are negative, and probably 75 or 80,000 of them you had yesterday. I had yesterday. So just think, if you can move the percentage of negative thoughts down by a couple percentage points, how much more control you'll have in your thinking. Most people don't think about thinking. A whole nother lesson on that, okay? You have to be trigger aware when it comes to your fear. You have to be trigger aware. If you have to, when you get a trigger, when you get into that fear, that fight or flight, that emotional state, write it down. Keep a trigger log. Trust me, when you write it down, it's easier to identify, it's easier to move on from. Number 7, remember, everything in life is baby steps. Baby steps. One day at a time, one thought at a time, one fear at a time. Okay? And you'll get there. Trust me, you'll get there. And number 8 is ride that fear. Jump and build your wings on the way down. Ride the fear. Ride the fear. So the last thing I want to talk about is point number 6 is empowered living. What does it mean to you to live an empowered life? I'm serious. What does it mean? What does that mean to you? Okay, here's some things that I want you to think about. Living an empowered life brings you to a whole new level of consciousness. If you can accept the fact that you are fully resourced to do what God has intended for you to do on this earth, then you can live an empowered life. But if you don't believe you're fully resourced, then you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle, pure and simple. So begin to think about, what does it mean to live an empowered life. Now, I've put my calendar link on this post. If you're interested, please click on that. Let's talk about what it means to you to live an empowered life. Let's walk through it. Let's get you on the path to victory. Let's get you on the path to positive results in your business, positive results in your personal life, positive results in your finances. Because if you can't believe that you are fully resourced, you will never get to ride your fear to the dreams that you have for your life. So once again, click on the calendar link and schedule 30-minute complimentary coaching session. We'll talk about your empowered life. This has been Sam McEwen coming to you live from Tampa, Florida. Live intentionally and be very, very, very blessed today, my friends.